All right, well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us here today as we launch our new CISA Cybersecurity Awareness Program. For those that I have not had the opportunity to meet, my name is Elena Clark, and I'm the Assistant Director for Stakeholder Engagement at CISA, and I will be your MC for this afternoon. This new program has truly been a labor of love for me over the past 12 plus months, and I want to recognize two individuals from my team who have been leading this effort. Kevin Dillon and Sarah Pease lead our strategic relations team. They're here in the room with us, and they have truly been leading it, and without them, we would not be here today. And as with so much of our work, we have our partners, you here in the room, and those that are joining us virtually to thank as well. We could not have gotten here without you. We have received so many insights, expertise, feedback, and especially you just taking the time to sit down with us over the past year to provide us input. It has truly helped to inform this program and the direction that we are going. The world we're working to secure is highly connected. We learn that more every day. And because we're all connected, we all share the responsibility for cybersecurity. We share the responsibility for cybersecurity within our communities, within our places of work, and within our home. That's why we are launching this year-round, enduring cybersecurity awareness program that gives us the creative and straightforward ways to speak directly to individuals, families, small and medium businesses, and also the technology manufacturers. This new program offers a treasure trove of ready-made tools that we all of us here today, along with our partners across the nation, can easily use to help Americans take cybersecure actions every minute of every day, 365 days a year. Essentially, crowdsourcing a line of cyber defense around our homes, our places of work, and everywhere in between. This program will be the umbrella program under which all of our cybersecurity campaigns will fall, with a timeless theme to carry us through this year's Cybersecurity Awareness Month and beyond. As with all of our voluntary programs, the success of this program relies on our ability to work together with you. So once again, I'm asking you to collaborate with us to build a more secure world by helping Americans create new cybersecurity habits that will become second nature, like reaching for the seatbelt as soon as you get into the car. So thank you for choosing to be a part of building a safer, secure world. We have a great program lined up for this afternoon, including the premiere of CISA's first ever public service announcement, giving you an early view today before it goes viral nationwide as it starts to air tomorrow. We're also very excited to hear from our industry partners who will share their thought-leading insights, including how awareness programs help to build a more secure cyber future. And we'll close today with a little time with the group here in the room to mix and mingle as we celebrate the launch of this great program. I'm very excited that we are joined by our keynote speaker, Director of CISA, Jen Easterly, who is going to take on the program for the next steps.
Woo! All right. Got a couple more seats if anybody wants to fill in, but thank you, Elena. Great intro. Welcome, everybody. It is awesome. We've been waiting for this day for a while. I really am excited for the kickoff for the 20th anniversary of Cybersecurity Awareness Month, hard to believe, and the launch of our public service awareness campaign, so yay. I want you all to think about your relationship with technology. Did you take an Uber or a Lyft here? Yeah? When you got here, did you check your email? Yeah? Did you scroll through that Instagram feed, maybe? Did you use a mobile app to pay for your pumpkin spice latte? Yeah? Did you pre-order groceries to be delivered? I have to do that more, actually. Did you swipe right recently? You don't have to raise your hand for that. If you did any of those activities, you are in great company because there are 23 million Uber rides a day, over 230 million emails sent every minute. There are 2 billion people scrolling on Instagram, sharing photos every month. Over 55 million people use Apple Pay. 1.7 billion meals were delivered by DoorDash last year. And there are over 360 million online users for dating apps. I like that one because that's how I met my husband a long time ago. Match.com, OG dating apps. Our world is so amazingly digitized, right? I mean, technology is woven through the fabric of how we communicate, how we consume, how we connect. And it's amazing how rapidly it has all evolved. I mean, it wasn't 2 decades ago, actually 2007, when Steve Jobs introduced the world to the first iPhone, sparking a revolution in communications technology that's literally changed the way we work and we live. And that was 2007. That wasn't the only thing that happened. Google introduced Android. Amazon introduced Kindle. It was also when a small microblogging platform called Twitter began to spin off and scale globally, following in the footsteps of Facebook, which had just become available 6 months earlier to everybody over the age of 13 with a valid email address. And now we live in a planet of 8 billion people. About 7 billion have cell phones, 5.3 billion are on the internet, almost 5 billion on social media. We have tens of billions of devices connected to the internet. So this connectivity has been amazing, right? And it's created great productivity and efficiency. But as we've added more devices and more platforms and more endpoints to the internet, we've increased vulnerabilities. We've expanded that attack surface for cyber criminals to steal our data and to lock it up. So there's a cyber attack every 11 seconds. 7% of websites leads you to malware. And according to Cybersecurity Ventures, cybercrime damages are going to cost the world $8 trillion this year. Now, CISA, along with our government and our industry partners, are doing everything we can to prevent and disrupt the cyber criminal ecosystem, but it's critical that every one of us take responsibility for keeping ourselves safe online, and that's why we are here today, and that's why I am so excited about this public awareness campaign, because it's the obligation, as Elena said, of every digital citizen to know how to keep ourselves safe and secure online. So how do we do that, though? Well, it's the basics of cyber hygiene. It's the essential cybersecurity habits that each of us do to keep ourselves protected. I think Microsoft just put out a blog that said basic cyber hygiene prevents 98% of attacks, right? So that's what Secure Our World is all about. We aim to equip digital citizens with the basic tools that are needed to keep ourselves safe and secure online. We want to make keeping information safe just like buckling the seatbelt and brushing the teeth. Cyber hygiene is easy as the regular hygiene every day. And we're really focused on 4 steps that I bet you all know, but I'm going to give them to you anyway. First, strong passwords, right? Complex, unique to each sensitive account, and a password manager to generate and store them. That's 1. 2, my favorite, enable multi-factor authentication. You need more than a password. Okay, I've been practicing that all day. To keep your sensitive accounts safe, your social media, your email, your financial accounts. 3, recognize and report phishing. We like to say think before you click. Make sure that you're very cautious about those unsolicited texts and calls and emails, and don't open attachments from unknown sources. And then finally, update your software and, in fact, make those automatic updates because you want to be continuously protected from malicious threats that are out there. So we are really excited about this campaign. We have a beautiful Secure Our World website that I think is going live very soon. It's live? It's live. Going live very soon. Woo! We've got guidance and resources and tools for individuals and families. We've got tools for small and medium businesses. And of course, we have guidance for technology manufacturers because they need to create products that are secure by design to take that burden off individuals and small businesses. It's all part of securing our world. So I hope you all dig into the website because we're super excited about it. Now, I have some thanks that I need to give. First of all, I want to echo the thanks to Sarah and Kevin for the amazing work. Spent a lot of time working on this, and I'm really, really proud of you guys. And of course, the amazing leadership of Elena Clark, our Assistant Director for Stakeholder Engagement. Thank you very, very much. I also want to thank our amazing partners who are here for the launch: Google, MasterCard, Microsoft, National Cybersecurity Alliance, Global Cybersecurity Alliance, and the Institute for Security and Technology. Thank you very much for being here. This truly is something that has to be about partnership because it takes all of us to keep the world safe. So, and this is not just a CISA thing. This truly has to be something that's about a community. So if others want to partner with us, please reach out to Elena, come join us. We want to get as much amplification and virality on this as possible. So thanks everybody for being here. I also want to thank our friends from Congress because it was actually their vision and their idea that led to this. They authorized it, they appropriated it last year, and so it's particularly exciting to see their vision come to life. So I want to thank our friends on the Hill as well. So now I think it is a good time for you to meet some of my friends. So this is Kevin. Now, Kevin is a small business owner. He's a dad, he's a husband, he's a son, and he's pretty good on tech. He understands MFA, he knows how to look for phishing emails, he keeps his devices updated, and now here's his wife, Ava. And Ava's also pretty digitally savvy, but she does worry a little bit about keeping her family safe, including Max, who's really cute. Isn't he so cute? So Max is a digital native. He knows how to do all kinds of things with technology and gaming and stuff, but he doesn't always know how to keep himself safe online. But it is his birthday, so for his birthday, we're hoping he can learn a little bit more about that. Now, Max has two grandparents, Mark and Michelle, and they've been around a long time, and they've seen the evolution of technology, and they are here for it. But they're also a little worried about how to keep their family, their community safe. And finally, here's Leah. She is also a small business owner. She's got this awesome bakery, and she keeps up with the latest technology, including cashless payment systems, and she really encourages all of her customers to use things like payment verification and multi-factor authentication. So all of these characters are now part of our story about how to keep us all safe online. And the thing is, these folks are all of us. These are our families, these are our communities. These are the folks that need to all work together to keep this world safe. So I'm excited to show you, to unveil our PSA campaign. Should we do it, Elena? Yep. All right.
For more information on how to keep yourself and those you care about safe online, go to CISA.gov/secure our world.
and everybody who worked part of this. I think we've got some of the film crew with us too, right? Yeah, awesome. I see Aldo over there. Fantastic. And now back over to you for the rest of our program. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you, Director Easterly. I feel like I've gotten to know Kevin, Ava, Max, and the whole family very well over the past several months. And these stories just remind us who we're empowering to secure our world and why it is so important, because it does come down to our family and our businesses and our community. And as we mentioned, we have a phenomenal program lined up for today. Our next few guests are a testament to these partnerships that are so important to CISA. So we're going to start off with Heather Atkins, Vice President for Security Engineering at Google. Heather is the founding member of the Google Security Team, where she developed Google's first programs for security assurance. Heather helps set Google-wide strategy for protecting its infrastructure and users, and she also led the response to significant security incidents and has briefed the National Academy of Sciences on the topics of breach recovery, incident response, insider risks, and building modern, safe computing environments. Heather is dedicated to uplifting security for the world beyond Google, and as a part of this, she serves as our Deputy Chair for the CISA Cyber Safety Review Board as well. So thank you, Heather. So welcome, Heather.
Yay.
Thank you so much. Is it on? Oh, it is. Okay, great. Thank you so much. And thank you, Director Easterly. I would love to live in a public service announcement for CISA. So if you ever need a new resident, let me know. I lead a team at Google. It's an amazing team dedicated to protecting billions of people every day. We live cybersecurity every day in what is a rapidly evolving and sometimes frightening threat landscape. And it's a distinct honor and privilege to be here with all of you today and to partnering with CISA on their launch for Secure Our World. I haven't been as inspired in a long time, so thank you very much. I think it's going to be well received. And it's an important initiative because I think as we realize we need to raise the bar for everyone, regardless of whether they're tech savvy and regardless of what kind of risks they are facing in their lives, we need to give them technology that helps them secure things the right way at the right moment. And we're very passionate about that. I don't think I need to tell this audience that cybersecurity is top of mind for everyone, whether you're a business, a government, a citizen, here in the United States or around the world. And that's no surprise that it's top of mind for everyone because of the rapid technology evolution that Director Easterly has mentioned. In 2022 alone, just to throw another stat at you, global cybersecurity attacks increased by 40%. That's a phenomenal year-over-year increase. And we do expect that trend to continue for some time as we get in front of it. And we all feel this really keenly. This is happening across all sectors: entertainment, retail, services, high tech, education, hospitals, in places where people are really intimately feeling the impact of these attacks every day. And then, of course, critical infrastructure, energy, water, power, government services, national security, things that we rely on every single day to feel more secure. And in the face of this threat, it's incredibly important that we come together, that we build coalitions, such as Secure Our World, to commit to one another. This is a challenge that we're going to all have to solve together. Google, we're incredibly passionate about this. I've been there for 21 years. It's 21 years of passion, which is a long time to sustain passion for anything. But we're really passionate about building this more secure future for everyone. And we believe that we play a role along with all of our partners in the ecosystem to build open and secure frameworks that allow people to resolve vulnerabilities, not just manage them, but actually resolve them from their root, and to make security the default for everyone all the time. Now, I believe we can do that. Many in our field are not as optimistic as me, but I believe it because we've been doing it. And I've seen the first fruits at Google, and through our alliance, as an example. We believe there is a future where there will be no password. Okay? I believe that. I believe that firmly in my soul. A world where you will no longer use a text-based string to authenticate yourself to the most important systems in your life that can then be hijacked, taken over by an attacker who can ruin that life. But that is a little bit in the future. I'm also a realist. But as an industry, we take these small steps every day. And I think the ideas that CISA is putting forth in Secure Our World are very meaningfully in that journey. Password managers. I've been using one for 15 years. I can't imagine my life without it. The ability to create a complex password that I don't have to remember, that I can put in a safe place, that it's secure all the time, and I can retrieve it at the moment that I have to have it, but I don't have to worry about who else might have it at that time, is going to be very important to keep people from guessing that password and hacking websites where I might be sharing that password with others. I think this is an incredibly important and inspired cyber hygiene moment to highlight. I am also the world's #1 fan of multi-factor authentication. Count me in. We'll have to thumb wrestle over that. I've seen firsthand what good, properly implemented multi-factor authentication really means in terms of preventing account hijacking. And I can't stress it enough. Recently, we turned on MFA by default. Users don't have to think about it, by default for Google accounts. And the early data suggests this has had a substantial and meaningful impact to millions and millions of people, just by default without them even having to think about it. And it's easy to use, and it's on by default. Also, about a decade ago, Google joined the FIDO Alliance with many of our industry partners. This is an industry coalition to create open frameworks and standards for a better digital identity and authentication scheme for people. And with the help of the industry partners, we've brought secure multi-factor authentication to the world, to the masses, with security keys, which are hardware tokens, and passkeys, which are a software version that are easier to use. And since adopting these solutions for ourselves as a company, we have eliminated password phishing as a problem at our company. Imagine a security team that doesn't have to worry about password phishing and can worry about other things. This is the proof point for me. This is what brings me my optimism in a world that's otherwise not a very optimistic place to work, is that we really can solve from the root some of these problems in a meaningful way for people. I also think the FIDO Alliance and MFA adoption is a critical example of how we can take the burden out of the user's hand, put the burden on the technology companies to create meaningful solutions that are easy to use. And this, I think, is a foundational point as we look at other parts of technology as well. So I'm really, really pleased to see that MFA is part of Secure Our World. I also want to talk about a portion of the threat landscape we don't often talk about as much, which is the speed at which our threat actor friends work every day. They're adapting. They're not afraid to try things and fail. They're not afraid to make mistakes, pick themselves back up and keep going, and they move very, very quickly. And this reality means that we have to build technology that is also continuously and automatically updating itself. And for this reason, over two decades now, which is amazing, we've been implementing machine learning and artificial intelligence behind the scenes to keep up with these attacks, studying things we see on websites, in emails, in apps, so that we can feed that back in to protect the systems by default. Gmail, for example, today, if you're a Gmail user, we block 99.9% of all malware, spam, phishing, and other kinds of attacks from even reaching the inbox. I also believe in think before you click, but I also believe in don't make the user think about it if they don't have to. And this is an important component of secure by default, this sort of automatically removing the threat from people's inboxes. And another prime example of where we as engineers can take on the burden for security and free the users up to enjoy the technology how they need to. And this philosophy also underlines approaches to building our products, such as Google's Chrome web browser It automatically updates. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to think about patching. We will think about that for you. We've also designed Chrome OS, which is our web-based operating system, with secure by default in mind. And to date, there have been no known ransomware attacks across business, commercial, education, etc., on a Chrome OS device. This important point, being able to automatically identify phishing and keep software up to date in a timely manner, is incredibly important hygiene. And I think we've given some proof points that it's possible not only to emphasize to users that it's important, but help them do it in a safe way. And finally, I want to say a few words about awareness and education. I remember when I was growing up, I had lots of wise adults in my life who were consistently giving me advice about what I should be doing to stay safe. You know, look both ways before you cross the street. Lock your doors. Don't talk to strangers. On the flight out here, my mom texted me, "Be safe." I don't know what that means. She's still at it. And we do this for each other in the real world, but not as much on cybersecurity. So I'm really excited about Secure Our World because this is an opportunity for us to introduce these concepts and these habits. And it's not just for young people, it's for everyone. At Google, some of the things that we're trying to do is to make security relatable. I love the PSA. We've done some similar things with social media influencers such as Trixie Mattel and Bretman Rock, people who have vast audiences and who really deeply connect with their audiences in very unique and special ways. And we can leverage their voices to help make security relatable, and hygiene in particular. And we've also worked with experts to create digital safety and literacy programs, such as the Be Internet Awesome program. This has games which teach kids how to be safe online. It's expanded. It's in 19 languages, 41 countries, and we've educated 30 million kids globally on staying safe online. Just to wrap up, I'm here as an industry partner. We really believe we have a responsibility as a tech company to ensure that billions of people that we protect every day are safe, and this is our first priority. We can't do this alone. We have many industry partners in our coalitions and alliances, but I think we are all committed to a few things. Secure by default, easy to use, shift the burden. We hear these over and over again. They will be our mantra for many, many years to come. Message heard loud and clear. Because we are in a better place to help people defend themselves and to give them these tools that will make cyber hygiene really a reality for everyone, so that we can all be safe, for whatever that means to my mom. We're excited to be here, excited to partner with CISA, excited to partner with the other partners in the effort. And thank you to CISA, the whole team at CISA. I get to see firsthand on many fronts how hard you all work on such an important mission. And thank you, Director Easterly, for your leadership. And enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you all.
Thank you, Heather. Your remarks really resonate, especially when you mentioned the 40% increase in global cyber attacks in 2022. That is terrifying, but that is also, when you're talking about the awareness, why we wanted to create a program that makes cybersecurity easy and accessible, and also empower individuals that cybersecurity is something that they can do, so trying to make it attainable to everyone, including our parents. So with that, our next guest is Ron Green. He is the Chief Security Officer for MasterCard, where he leads a global team that ensures the safety and security of the company's network, as well as product and services. He is responsible for corporate security, security architecture and engineering, cryptographic key management, business continuity, disaster recovery, and emergency management. He does not sleep. Ron's career history includes extensive experience working with international and federal law enforcement agencies, both as a special agent in the United States Secret Service, as well as an officer in the United States Army. He also go Navy. He also chairs the Financial Services Sector Coordinating Council, and he is the vice chair and the incoming chair of the CISA Cybersecurity Advisory Committee. With that, Ron, over to you.
Elena, thank you very much. Jen, thank you so much, and your team for all of the great work that you guys have done and that you will continue to do. I am really looking forward to what we're doing with Secure Our World. It happens to come at the 20th anniversary of the Cybersecurity Awareness Month. I think that is truly awesome. Look, personally, I've had my own bad experiences with fraud. If you think about it, I've been in cybersecurity for a long time. And I take that at home. I secure with firewalls. I got host-based firewalls. I got IPS. I got a lot of stuff at home because I don't want to be the victim of cybercrime. But my young son plays video games. And early on, I wanted to introduce him into the digital economy, so I got his little debit card. And we would go to the store together, and he would use it. But at some point, over his games, a fraudster had managed to communicate with him through some of the gaming chats. And because of that, my son, not knowing what he was encountering, divulged the card information. And how does all of this happen with a guy who's got, what Elena said, working cybercrime investigations, protecting Fortune 500 companies? How does that happen? Well, I'm immersed in security during the day. I talk to security specialists all the time. But how often did I talk to my son about fraudsters talking to you over your gaming channel? Didn't do that. But I think Secure Our World gives us that ability to leverage those tools, to leverage those communications, to think about it and take it home. At MasterCard, we're doing everything that we can to secure small businesses, larger businesses, our customers. We do a lot to secure the infrastructure. We have partners at CISA, Treasury, and we work across the financial services sector to make sure that that is secure. The most important part of all of this are people. We can have all of the technology safeguards that you could ever imagine, but if our people miss that opportunity to be cyber hygiene correct, if our people miss that opportunity to stop the jackal, I call the bad actor the jackal sometimes, to stop the jackal at that moment where they're presented with a fraud a phishing attempt, where they're presented with some kind of social engineering attack, if they miss that opportunity, havoc can ensue. But it's not just MasterCard or the company that they're a part of that they need to think about. We need to be thinking about this in our everyday life. I know that we will progress from where the fraudsters have the advantage because we've done so in other things that have come about, like automobiles, things we learn, and then we know how to be safe with them. We're just at this inflection point where we're so immersed in technology, it comes so fast, we take advantage of it. We just haven't had the moment to pause and think about how to be secure, not just ourselves, but our kids and our parents and everyone that we know, thinking about cybersecurity every day, like I do, because it's my job. But you need to be thinking about it like when you close your door and lock it because you've gone to work or you've gone to school. It just needs to be part of what it is that you do. And I think we're getting some great tools to help us deliver that. So with that, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. Elena, back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ron. I too am starting to understand the at home with my son as he is starting to get into more apps and realizing that what you do every day, you've got to start to bring that home and put it also and invest that time with the kids as well. So definitely understand that piece. So with that, our last guest before we go to the fireside chat is Mr. Steve Fail, who is Microsoft's Federal Security CTO and Federal Security Business Leader. In these roles, Steve drives Microsoft's efforts to help the government, U.S. government, accelerate security modernization and realize the benefits of security transformation. His primary mission is to identify and evangelize the most valuable defensive cybersecurity tactics available to organizations today. He works closely with the U.S. government clients. He partners internally with other Microsoft security leaders and experts from every area of the company to align security engineering efforts to agency needs. With that, welcome, Steve.
Well, what a pleasure it is to be here today. So thankful for the wonderful work that CISA is doing and for the great partnership. Private-private partnership. I see a lot of friends in the room. Also a public-private partnership as we work to address the challenges of cybersecurity. Microsoft's corporate mission is to empower every person and organization on the planet to achieve more. And really that goes to the soul of the company and what it is that we hope to accomplish and really make our mark on this world. As we look at that digital transformation, though, there is an intrinsic cyber element to that in that we have to secure the achievements that we gain. If we help people be successful only for adversaries to threaten that way of life, have we really achieved our organizational goals? And so cybersecurity is intrinsic really to the way that we think about and approach the world. As we look at digital transformation changing our way of life, I love how the PSA captured just the way that life is today, right? This could have happened in anyone's living room or in the bakery down the street from anyone. It really represents the world that we live in today, and that world has been radically transformed by digital technology and is the cusp on being further transformed by AI as well. And so as we think about cybersecurity in this landscape, cyber safety really becomes an imperative. We're not securing the technology. We're keeping our users safe as they use the technology. We're keeping their way of life safe as they leverage these tools. And I think as we keep that really in the center of our strategy, the results are tremendously different. And so fully aligned with the Secure Our World initiative here, and so excited that cybersecurity awareness is not just a month. I think I heard a year-long campaign. And so I always felt at the end of October just a little bit depressed that October was over, because it's like, well, yeah, you should still be aware about cyber, but it's November. I don't have to think about that anymore. So, love this idea of a year-long campaign, and I think truly that's what it's going to take. We have to change the public discourse. Apparently, everyone else is telling stories about their kids, so I'm going to jump into that one. So I think, one of my sons, I won't give up names here, but one of my sons, when he was young, we were at a pizza place where you could order your own custom pizza. Now that's transformation, right? So he was very excited about this. I'm not stuck with what someone else thinks pizza should be. I'm going to go ahead and order my own pizza my way. So very, very excited. So we went ahead and ordered, and then the waiter asked, and what is your name? And wants to put it on the popsicle stick. And he froze up. And he's not normally like the freeze up kind of type under pressure. So I'm like, well, what's wrong? Just tell him your name. He's like, I can't tell him my name. That's personally identifiable information. And I don't know what he's going to do with it. And I said, he's going to get you your pizza. So, sometimes a little bit misplaced. But, did I tell my son, did I teach him about PII and SPII and NARA and CUI? No, I didn't do that, right? This is just a part of the discourse, part of the public discourse. We're going to change hearts, we're going to change minds, we're going to change the way that people interact with their technology, and they're going to have better outcomes. They're going to be better off for it. I'll tell one more kid story because, two is better than one. And so my daughter is very much into AI, and I think what strikes me about AI innovation is it's no longer just in the hands of the data scientists. New generative AI models, foundational AI models come pre-trained and ready to help you. Now, it's kind of like the make your own pizza. You might make a pizza that's not so good, so you need to have good taste when it comes to using AI. You have to use it responsibly. But the possibilities are endless, and this technology now democratizes people's ability to use intelligence within their applications, to use intelligence in everyday life. Now, you have to use it well, you have to be informed, but securing this new AI frontier is going to be absolutely key to preserving our digital way of life moving forward. And so at Microsoft, we're thinking deeply about not only how to secure products, but how to think philosophically about these new horizons like AI that are fundamentally going to change our lives and ensure that they change our lives in a very, very beneficial way. And we know that adversaries are going to move in and they're going to try to take advantage of any assumptions that we make that are bad assumptions. Any controls that have yet to be invented, they will find a need to invent those controls. And so as it showed in the PSA, we're going to think very deeply about what things are we going to encourage people to do. Is it intelligence-led? Is it threat-informed? Is it based on real risk? Or are we just creating a bunch of noise? And so I love the very practical items that were surfaced in the PSA. And we want to think about that as a company when we're giving out security guidance. Are we generating a lot of noise, or are we really moving the needle to help inspire people to understand and take control of their digital safety? As our way of life is under assault, we look at misinformation, we look at disinformation, we look at all of those items that impact us on a daily basis, maybe without us even noticing. And we start to think about citizens as an element of critical infrastructure of democracy. And that's one thing that I've learned in working with the folks in Ukraine, is that their very democracy is under attack because their citizens are under attack, their way of life. You have toy stores being ransomwared. The bakery in the PSA may very well be ransomwared. When your very way of life is impacted, it affects the citizens of a democracy, and democracy needs to thrive with healthy, safe, informed citizenry. So what Microsoft is doing, in addition to all of the great work that we do with businesses, with M365, with our Azure platform, we're also extending that to personal accounts. We're extending the lessons learned there with our 65 trillion signals that we get in threat intelligence. It's not just a whole bucket of things that we learn on a daily basis. We don't just apply those to businesses. We want to apply those to the small business, the 5-person company, the 1-person company, where you're the CEO and the IT department and the cybersecurity response team. You really need organizations to do more to make that approachable for you. So one of the things that we're very proud of, and this has been in collaboration with feedback from CISA, is really we were inspired to do MFA on by default for all M365 instances, whether existing ones, whether new ones that are stood up. If you don't configure a security policy, you're going to get MFA, right? And that was a huge shift for us. We were very concerned that people would be locked out of their tenants. We were very concerned people wouldn't know what to do. And you know what? Awareness was a key aspect. We had communications campaigns. We weren't advertising new products to sell. We were advertising how you can be safe utilizing technology, and we were able to roll that out in a way that didn't disrupt anyone. And it's something that makes everyone safer, everyone benefits, and the downsides are reserved for the adversary. And that's really how I think about secure defaults is security is not optional. But with secure defaults, sometimes awareness is optional. So if I can take care of something for you so that you don't have to think about it, so much the better. When we think about design, it's not just the architecture. I have a lot of conversations about architecture in my role, and people want to know, how do I have a secure by design architecture? Do I put the server here? Do I put the server there? Do I use IPv6? And they want to ask these very technical questions. And sometimes the answer is, why don't you move that button on the UI? Why don't you make it a little more obvious that someone's using fish-resistant versus non-fish-resistant MFA? Why don't you make it a little more obvious that this is coming from an external user? Sometimes it's the little things that can really empower users through design with security in mind. And so sometimes it's a deep architectural discussion. I'm sure those will continue. We love having those conversations. But sometimes it's just as simple as a design decision that can be made to promote users doing the right thing. I think, lastly, I'll speak a little bit to the idea of, as we move forward in this realm of security, and as secure defaults are something that are implemented more and more, and we raise that bar, we have to be cognizant that people are feeling the pain of shifting and having to do more. They have to shift and do more every time the adversary does something else. They have to shift and do more every time the security of yesterday is a former best practice today. And so I think as a security community, we also have to have a little bit of empathy for our users. We have to have a little bit of empathy for the community and the general public. And where we can, bring things down to that level and let them know the why. We don't want to barrage them with a ton of cyber risk, fear-mongering. We want to let them know this is what it takes to be safe in this environment. This is how you can be secure moving forward, and you can do so with confidence. So I think with that, I'll just close out by saying that this is not a journey that has an end in sight. And really, when it comes to changing that public conversation, I think at the very least, as we get people asking the right questions, they don't have to have all of the answers maybe on day one, but as we get them to ask the right questions about cybersecurity to really protect that digital way of life, we're going to see a shift. We're going to impose pain and cost and difficulty on our adversaries in a very meaningful way. And with things like passwordless, we're going to see maybe even the users have a better experience than they had before. So there is hope, and at the very least, I will say that at least everyone in this room, if we increase the public awareness of cybersecurity, we'll have many more people to talk to at all of the parties that we attend. So if the altruism wasn't enough, you can at least rest on that one. With that, I'll turn it back. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve. And as you mentioned, as you get sad at the end of October, that we did too. So that is why this is an enduring program that will be year-long with many more partnerships and content for our partners to use. So as we start to think about all aspects of building collective defense, we often talk about public-private partnership, and we know that that includes government and industry. But it's also really important to remember that nonprofits play a key and vital role in securing our world. So I'm very happy to welcome our fireside chat participants who will be talking about the role of the nonprofit community in cyber defense. Kirsten Todd is going to serve as our moderator for today's panel and is the senior counselor to CISA director Jen Easterly. Also, I have to give her a very special thanks because Kirsten was instrumental over the past year in helping us to develop this program as well. So thank you, Kirsten. Prior to Kirsten's role at CISA, she co-founded the Cyber Readiness Institute, or CRI, as many of you know, a nonprofit initiative focused on human behavior to help small businesses with cybersecurity. She co-founded CRI with CEOs who prioritize the value of nonprofits in this space. She was also the non-resident scholar at the University of Pittsburgh Institute for Cyber Law, Policy, and Security. Lisa Plagmeyer is also joining the panel, and she is the Executive Director at the National Cybersecurity Alliance, or NCA, and she is recognized as a thought leader in cybersecurity awareness and education. With a proven track record of engaging and empowering individuals to protect themselves, their families, and their organizations. Lisa has held several leadership roles with the Ford Motor Company, CDK, InfoSec, and MediaPro. Phil Rettinger is also joining the panel today, and since 2015, he has served as the president and CEO of the Global Cyber Alliance, or GCA, an international nonprofit that focuses on making the internet more secure for everyone. Part of our, Phil was also, has extensive experience as he served as the Deputy Undersecretary for our legacy agency, NPPD, and the Director of the National Cybersecurity Center, where he led efforts to reduce risk across both the physical and cyber infrastructure and coordinated public and private sector responses to cybersecurity incidents. Phil has also served as the Sony Senior Vice President and Chief Information Security Officer and Chief Trustworthy Infrastructure Strategist at the Microsoft Corporation. Megan Stiefel rounds out our panel of participants and is the Chief Strategy Officer for the Institute for Security and Technology, or IST, where she also serves as the Executive Director for the Ransomware Task Force. She is the founder of the Silicon Harbor Consultants, which provides strategic cybersecurity operations and policy counsel. Prior to founding Silicon Harbor Consultants, she was an attorney at the National Security Division at the U.S. Department of Justice. She's also worked at the White House as a director for cyber policy in the National Security Council. And most recently, before joining IST, Megan served as the Global Policy Officer and Capacity and Resilience Program Director at the Global Cyber Alliance with Phil. So it is my pleasure to welcome them to the stage. We're just going to switch out and bring some chairs up here. So if you can just give us a moment as we bring them up.
Well done.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, well, this is on. Everyone always says this, right? In technology, it's like a PowerPoint that goes bad when you're in cybersecurity. Well, it's great to be here. And I have to start first, obviously, by recognizing and thanking Elena Clark and her team. She said Trent Frazier, Kevin Dillon, Sarah Peace. This has been, I think, more than 12 months, but you're gracious in saying 12 months. I had the honor to support it through this process, and it is a reminder of the power of people and ability and the power of leadership. And to thank Jen, to thank Director Easterly, because one of the key elements, I think, over the last couple of years at CISA, as Jen often talks about, is that the superpower of CISA is its teamwork, is its partnership with industry. And while we think about that often when we're looking at threat detection, when we look at how to defend the country, that's critical. But when we look at how do we make cybersecurity, hygiene, how do we make all of these elements accessible, this is a key priority, and this is also the success of what CISA can be. And so this campaign and its fantastic colors really replicate or resemble, really resonate what we need to be doing in this space. And the principles, what's so great about this is these are principles that everybody knows, but if we're able to articulate them, to define them, to express them in ways that people understand, then CISA will be a leader and continue to be a leader with its partners and really helping to raise the bar in cyber hygiene. So I'm extremely excited to be moderating this panel. As Elena said, nonprofits are near and dear to my heart, but I think one of the key things in cybersecurity is the appreciation that it's often that we don't need more, but we have to actually utilize and appreciate the resources that we have and access them and leverage them effectively. And I think there's no better example of that than nonprofits. We've all worked together for many years in different capacities, and this is quite a banner panel of experts in really understanding what is the value of nonprofits and how can they impact not just cybersecurity, but importantly, education, training, and public awareness. So I'm going to start with a very broad question, and Lisa, I'm going to start with you, which is what is your experience and the role of nonprofits in cybersecurity? What do you think this role should be and needs to be?
Well, I've spent most of my life in the private sector. I've just been with the NCA for 2 years. Before that, I was on our board. What I'd say, just in those first 2 years, what I've seen is that I think nonprofits can help both the public sector and the private sector go faster and do more. When I think about the time we've spent over the last year working on this campaign, we have some consumer research that tells us a little bit about how people feel about cybersecurity, because those feelings are very important to your motivation. If you know the behavioral science model, it takes capability, opportunity, and motivation before people do something. We're always sort of complaining in the security world that we can't get people to care enough about security to actually change their behavior. So we do research that on people's emotional state around this stuff. You know, how do they feel about it? Because if you don't like it, you're probably going to avoid it. Having that research already on the shelf, ready to go, when we were ready to start talking about a campaign and the tone of voice for the campaign, if you visit the website, you'll see a lot of information about how quick and easy things are. That's inspired and informed by that research. So I think knowing how slow the private sector can be to move in a large organization, because I did work at Ford Motor Company, which is like an aircraft carrier, knowing how sometimes it can be a little slow to get any large organization to do things. I think we're small and we're nimble, and so that just helps everybody that we work with to go faster. I like to think we kind of light a fire under everybody, and we're a force multiplier for sure.
And I know it's already been said, but congratulations on the 20th anniversary of Cybersecurity Awareness Month, because
very excited.
you were doing, you were the OG public-private partnership. I mean, this was long before people thought it was cool. It was long before anyone thought it could go anywhere. And so when you look at the history of what it's been and how it's built off of lessons learned, best practices, although someone recently said to me, aren't best practices just bad practices proliferated? And I don't think that's true, but I think it's very much about how do you take what this process has been over 20 years and evolve it with the appreciation that industry and government have to work together on this. So Megan, you've had different relationships and nonprofits, and now the work that you're doing. What do you see from where you sit? Because I think also the ransomware task force is a fascinating example of what it looks like when there is a national security, there's a real issue, but nonprofits step in to take the leadership role. What do you see as the role of nonprofits from where you sit in cybersecurity?
Sure, and thanks again for including us. We're excited to be here, and congratulations to the entire CISA team. A job well done. So, I think about us as civil society organizations, which is another phrase that we use to describe nonprofits, as key partners, not only for industry, but also for governments. And I think that's the task force that you mentioned is a great example of bringing together what we think of as the multi-stakeholder approach to help and advocate on behalf of consumers, but also companies who are here today who are doing the right thing to scale those beneficial and complementary activities to have maximum impact. And so we can think of ourselves as partners. We can also think of ourselves as advocates. We can also at times think of ourselves as accountability officers, so to speak, and thinking about really wanting to push the good practices, again, to thinking about scale. So we share a common mission with government that I think can be leveraged to a further extent than it has been so far, and I'm excited for us to participate in this effort so that we can really maximize the benefits of it.
Thank you. And I think this will be the last time I ask the same question to the three of you, but I'm going to give you the opportunity just to talk about your view as you've seen it. When Elena said 2015, I was like, wow, it's been 8 years since you've done GCA, which is pretty remarkable, and what you've built, because similarly, you started this organization, GCA, when that type of industry government work or industry work across national security issues was seen as, oh, maybe that can work. You've demonstrated an enormous effectiveness in what you've done in 8 years. So how do you see the role of nonprofits when you look at cybersecurity?
Thank you, Kirsten. So, as you said, I've been doing this for a long time, and I think we're all in exactly the same space. I think Heather may have said it best. She said, we want to give people the tools, right? And we want to have them have awareness to do what they need to do. So the key to awareness is actually action. It's not to be knowledgeable that cybersecurity is a risk that they face. It's that people know what to do and how to do it, and they've got the tools and capabilities to actually get the job done, right? And so nonprofits can fill in. A huge amount is done by organizations like CISA. Just as much, maybe more given the nature of the internet, is done by Google, MasterCard, Microsoft, and other organizations that turn on capabilities by default. Give people settings so they can say use passkeys as to do something else. So what is the role of nonprofits? Well, we kind of fill that in, right? There's this set of government interests. There's this set of corporate interests. But at the end of the day, the corporate interests are primarily around protecting their shareholders and their customers, right? And there's a gap there, right? There's a piece that's not directly in the government interest. There's a piece that's not directly in the corporate interest, but is really in everybody's interest. It's a public good. It's a common good around cybersecurity. And that's where nonprofits can focus. Nonprofits can take the great work that is done by all the organizations we've heard from and try and make it approachable. One quick example. So you heard a lot about cyber hygiene. Cyber hygiene gets you somewhere between 85 and 98%, depending on which statistic you want to say, of blocking cyber attacks, right? But what do? How do you approach people in a way to use the capabilities that they're already being given? So one of the things we do at the Global Cyber Alliance is we produce a toolkit. We produce actually 5 toolkits. One's for individuals, one's for small businesses. And the small business toolkit is in 6 different languages now: English, French, Spanish, German, Bahasa, and most lately Portuguese. All produced with the strong support, thank you, of MasterCard. That's built to be approachable, right? Awareness, action has to meet people where they are. And that's what nonprofit cybersecurity can do. It can take the trusted relationships it has with people, or build trusted relationships, and make it possible for them to do the things that they will do if you just make it possible for them. You don't have to twist their arm. You just have to make it possible.
So one of the key elements of this campaign and this effort is really looking at how does this go viral? How do we ensure that we've got broader awareness, that companies take this on and see this as an opportunity to share education, awareness, and training? And I think, what CISA has done really well over the last couple of years is created those partnerships that make it easier. What strikes me about each of you is that your organizations have come to CISA to say, hey, how can we help? We're doing this work. We want to be able to support. And the value of a nonprofit has all sorts of different elements, but about the agenda is very much about the benevolence and the altruism of what are we looking to do. So if we're looking at effective templates for engagement with government, how do you think nonprofits could and should be working? Because, when a few of us were working together in 2016 on President Obama's Commission on Cyber, and Eli Sugarman, who was running the cyber effort at the Hewlett Foundation at the time, was really trying to push this idea of philanthropy. Now you've seen it grow in wonderful ways. Craig Newmark has been a tremendous advocate and a leader in the space. But it's an interesting piece because there are different ways that this has worked successfully, and I think each of you has touched it in different ways. How do you think, what's the model for how nonprofits can work with government effectively? You've talked about bridging the gap, but I'd be curious going a layer deeper. And I'll open it up to all three of you. Megan?
Okay. We're all very, as you can see, we work collaboratively and are willing to share the mic, which is incredible. Kudos to you, Tatiana. I think I play different roles in the ecosystem, and in that way, again, back to this force multiplying effort and effect. Our organization largely is kind of in the B2C space, I would say, where we're not, B2B, not B2C, business to business, where we're thinking about businesses as both industry partners, but also government partners, not just in the United States, but really around the world, from kind of our Five Eyes and traditional national security partners to allies and the like. Whereas some of my peers here are, in many cases, working kind of at the approaching consumers. And it really does take all of us across this ecosystem and across the economy in having maximum impact of leveraging those relationships that we have. One of the things that I think has been a lesson learned from the task force is really how willing industry was to come to the table and set down kind of, as Phil mentioned, their duty to shareholders, to really think creatively about how we could make recommendations that we thought could have a lasting impact on the ransomware threat. And we're pleased that, as of this spring, we had seen 92% progress in the recommendations we had made, and that's due to the collective effort of the partners who were in that task force and who continue to support that, not only industry but also members of the U.S. government and other governments. And so I think it's really thinking about both leveraging the relationships that we have, but thinking about where there are gaps in effort that we can bridge together. We do work with GCA, we do some work with NCA. So it's really bringing those collaborative efforts together and knitting them in a way that benefits not just U.S. consumers, but we know that cybersecurity risk and threat is global, and so we need to be thinking about how we can leverage those global partnerships as well.
I think one of the ways that is a great example that we worked together this year on the campaign is just those 4 behaviors. If you ask any security practitioner, what are the things that I need to be doing to secure my environment, whether it's your home environment or your work environment, are you going to get a list of 4 bullet points? Are you going to get pages and pages? And so for us to align on those 4 things and come to really quick, easy agreement about that, and to know that those are 4 things that I can say to my mom or my kids and their eyes won't glaze over and they might actually do what mom is suggesting, that was a really good example of just how fast we were able to move and how well we could work together, because we all start with those big long lists and lists of policies and things that we'd like to see. But I think those are the most important things. It's low-hanging fruit. And so then the next thing in the campaign, I think it's a great example of how we've worked together, is just the reach, right? Like, as I said, we're a false multiplier, and we have toolkits too. CISA has made a toolkit for the campaign. The National Cybersecurity Alliance has made a toolkit for the campaign. So arming all those people out there who run Cybersecurity Awareness Month campaigns, for example, for October, and we hope that it'll continue all year and into next year. for sure. But making it easy, you also talked, Phil, about making things easy for people. So, kind of having a train the trainer approach, or having all the assets available. If somebody wanted to, on the last day of September, if they decided that they're going to run a Cybersecurity Awareness Month campaign in their organization with the assets that we've created together with CISA, in their retirement community, in their place of worship, in their school, in their workplace, it's not too late. They can still do that. So I think making it super, super easy for people to participate in the campaign is another thing that's been a tenet of all the planning.
So I'll briefly foot stomp something both Lisa and Megan said, and that's scale. The problem with cybersecurity is scale. So many devices, so many places, so many people, so much software everywhere. How do you tackle that, right? You have to get to scale. And to get to scale, it takes lots of people. It takes a community. And so one of the things that I would advise CISA to do is to use that community. I know you intend to, but just keep it up. All three of our organizations are members of a coalition called Nonprofit Cyber, which now has about 40 nonprofits, all of which work on getting cybersecurity measures out at scale. Your former organization, CRI, also a member of Nonprofit Cyber. So it's a Swiss Army knife with a lot of capabilities that can be brought to bear. You've got organizations, you've got partners in this room, as I know you know. So I'm telling you things you know, but I'm just putting it on the record, right? There are people that want to help. There are people, like all of us, who've spent up to 30 or 35 years trying to help. So call on us. We're your ready reserve.
We will.
And I think it's a really good point, Phil, because there's an advantage to this space. We often say, this has only become an issue in the last 20 to 30 years. I kind of use 9/11 as a pivot point because of what we ended up working toward and how we built off the Department of Homeland Security. But what that means is the institutional knowledge is really from the beginning. And I think one of the amazing elements to this is the experts who have been involved in this have been there for the whole time. So we are doing such a better job of making sure we're not making the same mistakes twice, but also appreciating those who have been a part of it. Just to talk about Nonprofit Cyber, have to shout out to Tony Sager, who has been doing this and has been behind this for the tools. And also MasterCard, I think, when we looked at CRI, and I know with GCA and others, it was very much about how do we create tools that are founded in human behavior and not the idea that you have to go spend a lot of money to do it. And if you do that and raise the baseline, it's so much more effective. And I think, with Jen's leadership and what CISA's done with this campaign, it's the ability to say, even at the federal government level, when we're actually defending the nation and critical infrastructure, we're telling you it starts here, and how do we raise that baseline? And so we've talked a lot about public awareness today and the importance of that in education and training. I think this is one of the areas where nonprofits really do have such an impact, and it has a lot to do with the community level. You get in at the community, you sort of create these infrastructures of education training. But I would love to hear more from each of you, because you've each done this in different ways, the role of nonprofits in education and training. Because to your point, Phil, this only works when we scale, and you scale through education. You talked about train the trainer, Lisa. It's how do you create that infrastructure? And to Elena's earlier point, everybody's accountable and responsible for cyber, right? This isn't personally, professionally, you don't delegate it to anybody. So that education and training piece and that awareness is so critical. So what is the experience and the lessons that you've each learned in this space on the role of nonprofits in education, training, and public awareness?
I think I'm going to shout out to all our peeps that are the training and awareness professionals around the country, right? Sometimes we jokingly refer to ourselves as the training and awareness organization for the country, because we're performing that role on a grand scale, and we're putting out content for those people to carry back through their organizations, and that's how we get that force multiplier effect, and our reach goes into the tens of billions during things like Cybersecurity Awareness Month, because there are organizations, you might have noticed we dropped the word national from Cybersecurity Awareness Month a few years ago, and that's because there are so many global organizations, like a lot of those that are on our board, that run these campaigns in every country around the world with their entire employee base every October. So having content for them that's relevant, there's that one soft-skilled person on the security team that's running that program, and they're constantly having to translate between what's happening in the tech world and the rest of their employee base, who frankly comes to work every day and doesn't think about these things, right? They come to work to do their job. They don't come to work to worry about cybersecurity. So the more of that work we can do for them, the more articles and content we can put out on staysafeonline.org, and the more social media assets we can create. Hopefully we're a go-to resource for all those people that are running those education campaigns, as well as the campaigns we run ourselves that are more B2C, that are trying to get directly to the consumer. And there's no one right answer, right? We all interact with tons of content every day. We have so many choices of what we give our attention to, whether it's what's on Netflix, or, oh, I got to pick up the kids after school and take them to soccer, or what am I going to make for dinner, or what's in my Instagram feed. Like, there's just a million things coming at us all day long, and different things will strike a chord with different people and get their attention. And we hope that this campaign gets people's attention and goes viral. But having different tactics for different people, I like to bury the lead. I like to not mention security from the outset in a lot of our campaigns and articles and things that we publish. If you say to people in, say, a banner or a Google ad, thanks Google for the free advertising you give to nonprofits, if you highlight that what you're going to serve up to somebody is about security, who are you going to get? The people that already care about security. We're trying to get to the people that don't care. And so oftentimes we'll come out with campaigns that completely bury the education, bury it in some humor, bury it in something that's entertaining. Some of us might not like that. For other people, like my kids, that might actually get through. So there's no one right way. It's really about having as much content as you possibly can produce that speaks to different audiences, people from different walks of life, different age groups, and getting it to stick.
So I'll throw one quick thing out, which is, and take what I say with a grain of salt, right? Because we're not a widespread training and awareness organization. That's really never been my job, except when I was at NPPD many years ago. But, our training, right, when we do training and awareness, it's because we want somebody to do something specifically, like turn on multi-factor authentication. We don't want them to be aware. We want them to do something, right? And what we find, because we have training that goes along, as do everybody, along with our tools, is that it's much more effective when it's implemented through an existing network of trust, right? So we did a project in Indonesia where the training was done by Mercy Corps through their existing micro-mentor program. And so it's small businesses working with an organization where they've got an existing relationship. We can do the scalable back end, but we need to work through partners to have somebody who that person knows and trusts to say, here's what you do this, and to sort of lead them by the hand. So those partnerships, those networks of trust are essential to actually driving changes one-on-one around human behavior.
I'll try to bridge these two points a bit, and just to say that I think one of the benefits that nonprofits can leverage is our ability to have different messages and to have different messengers. So Phil was talking about the work that GCA has done in Indonesia, where we have peers who are helping empower users. And I think that's one thing that we've seen a shift in. I think, maybe I'm just optimistic here, that I do feel we're moving away from FUD and more to user empowerment. And that, I think, is largely due to, not exclusively, there's been great work on the government side as well, but really I think the team in the US government and in, up here and in the audience. So our ability to meet users where they are, whether it's training, we have a resource that's called Blueprint for Ransomware Defense, which is on the government's ransomware website, which is sort of a next phase beyond the GCA toolkits. It's a little bit more complex, but we developed it in partnership with members with the Ransomware Task Force, including a great partner, CISA. And so there are resources out there, regardless of your kind of capacity, from this most simple to even more complex, still actually in many cases being free resources that users can avail themselves of. The first thing to do, though, is, in the words of Phil Reitinger, to take action. And so I think the benefit of nonprofits is that we can help different users reach different audiences so that they do take that first step.
I think that's a, sorry.
We are on a crusade to get rid of the pictures of the hackers and the hoodies. Absolutely.
I think it's such an important point because we often find ourselves preaching to the choir. We put ourselves in an echo chamber, and I think, a campaign like this, which really is looking at how do you connect and target those, to your point, we don't need the security professionals. So I think we each have encountered the same issue where we're doing it in the day, and then there are others you can educate at night that we may sometimes miss. But I think that whole point about how do you bring this more broadly, and that goes to the point that Jen made earlier about making this more viral. We've talked a little bit about this, but as we're looking to wrap up, because while it's a virtual happy hour and that there won't be any cakes for right now because of government shutdown, we want to have the socialization time. But I'm curious, just as you look at what you're most proud of in this space, and if you project that out to what you want to see in this space. I have a feeling that each of you are going to stay connected to nonprofits in some way, shape, or form. So if you think about what you've achieved and where you've seen impact and what you've done, if you could talk about that, and then if that relates to, but if you look sort of, I won't do the quantitative 3-5 years down the road, but if you just look at your vision for how nonprofits are going to play a role in this space moving forward, what that looks like.
I'd have to say I'm super proud of our team. If you look back over the history of our organization, which we did recently when we were celebrating the 20th anniversary of Cybersecurity Awareness Month, it was started by just a few people. It was a tiny, tiny handful of individuals from federal government and the private sector. And even to this day, and there were just a handful of employees. And to this day, we have less than 10 employees, fewer than 10 employees. We're getting there. We're growing. We're hiring. We actually have open recs right now. But it is amazing to me, when I was working in training and awareness and met the folks from the NCA, I was like, where's the rest of them? There's just so few people. And so the reach that we're able to have with some dedicated, super dedicated employees, they inspire me every day. I'm incredibly proud of our team. Where do I see it going? That's a little bit harder. I think all of us in cybersecurity would love to put ourselves out of a job. Right? We would love to have so much secure by design and so much secure by default, and so few people pursuing lives of crime that we wouldn't be doing this anymore. But I don't think that's going to happen, sadly, in my lifetime. I do think we'll get to passwordless. I hope it's sooner rather than later. But because not every organization is moving at the same speed, there's always going to be a role for consumer education.
I would say that we are, I'm looking forward. I do think, as evidenced by the organizations in this room, that we're getting to a place where companies are competing on security. And so that, I think, is a good thing overall. It may be a little bit uncomfortable at times, but that is, I think, in the best interests of all of us, where we do have organizations who are building security in from the ground up, and they are happy to tell the story about how they've done that and how it does protect consumers. So there, I think we're moving to a place, and kudos again to lots of folks in this room who've been advocating for this over decades, of really thinking about security as a corporate governance issue or organizational governance issue. That's where I think we need to go, where organizations think about security as they think about whether it's popular or not, other elements of their responsibilities and fiduciary duties. And so that's where we kind of think of ourselves as really thinking about how do we think about security, not only cybersecurity, but other elements of secure technologies for the future.
So I'm going to put a little capstone on one of the things I think we've been talking about a lot today. Like I said, I've been doing this for 30 years. I can't call out one particular accomplishment or anything that I think really is like the flag that we've placed. What I think is really the most different and the most important is the approach. I think back to the early days, right? Like, when it was, Scott Charney at Microsoft was my boss at the Justice Department. Sean Henry at CrowdStrike was the number 3 guy in the FBI, and all these. We were a merry band of people, men and women, trying to tackle the issue, right? But it was still not an understood problem. But now it's an understood problem. We know what needs to be done. We know that it scales. So you mentioned Tony Sager, right? A great human being. Another great human being I'll reference is Chris Inglis. Most recently, the head of the Office of the he was the National Cyber Director. So Chris used to say that networks have to be adequate, they have to be defensible, and adequately defend it, right? So that's two things. You actually have to be able to defend the network, and then you've got to have the people and the resources and the capabilities to do the job, right? And that's really the approach you've heard about all today, right? What we recognize is that first piece, networks have to be adequately defended, is different for consumers and small businesses. It's not the same job as a Fortune 500 or a huge company. We really need to treat individuals and small businesses like we treat driving cars. You know, people need to do routine maintenance and drive safely. That's what we expect from them, to drive safely. That's what we have to expect from them online as well, that they do the routine stuff like update their systems and that they learn how to drive safely online. And I don't think anybody in this room would disagree with that. Right? So that's a huge accomplishment, right? Is cybersecurity, are we going to be in a worse situation next year despite this campaign? Yeah, we are, because we're not near the hockey stick moment. But as companies like Google and Microsoft and MasterCard turn on things like two-factor authentication by default, as nonprofits work together to reach everybody, and as organizations like CISA continue to mature and grow and partner with both the private sector and nonprofits, I think we will get to that hockey stick moment. We will make a difference, and being safe online will be as easy as it is in the physical world.
And I think, Phil, what you're saying, which is so important, is that we're looking at really building out the community through education and training, that cybersecurity does not reside among a group of people from 20 years ago or a smaller group of people that has sort of evolved, that everybody has this responsibility. What strikes me about what each of you has said is really the power of people and the power of passion. And no one knows that better, I think, than government, in the sense of you don't need to have a lot, but what you can do with not a lot, I won't say a little, because I think it's just with not a lot, is pretty powerful. Elena, you and your team, and under Jen's leadership, are great examples of that. But it's the power of people, passion, and purpose in what this looks like. And I think, you know, the interesting piece right now is in cybersecurity, I always look back, you know, could we have done this earlier? And I think that there is always the community around it, but we're at a unique time right now. Jen often quotes Teddy Roosevelt in his Man in the Arena speech from April 1910. It's not the critic who counts, it's the man in the arena. And this is one of the principles of CISA. And it's an interesting time because we are all in the arena right now. And the value and the purpose and the success of a campaign like this, a public awareness campaign that goes beyond the PSA, but just what's being done, is the role that each of us takes to bring this and to spread it more widely. It's a pleasure to be with each of you on this, and thank you for your work, because nonprofit work is not always easy. But really, congratulations to CISA and for the leadership that it's providing in this space and truly exemplifying public-private nonprofit partnership. Thanks very much to everybody for their time.
Well, thank you, Kirsten, Phil, Megan, and Lisa. Nonprofits are truly a huge part of the cyber ecosystem, and thank you to Microsoft, Google, and MasterCard. Over the past 12 months, as I said at the top, the industry and nonprofit community were essential in the development of this campaign. We did multiple listening sessions, we took your feedback, and it truly helped to inform the direction that we went. So just thank you again for your time. Also, we will put up our new CISA.gov website that will show the Secure Our World page as well. So for those in the room, you'll see it here on the screen, and for those online, you will see it as well, or you can just go to our main webpage, CISA.gov, and you will see it listed up there. So with that, a huge, huge thank you, and that will conclude our event. For those in the room, feel free to stay to mix and mingle.